Hey, Speak for Yourself listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself, Marcellus Wiley, Wiley Acho. You are smiling on the inside. Don't try and hide it.
I'm not excited about this show now that Doug Pederson is fired.
Oh, well, speaking of Doug Pederson, let's get it started with some breaking news in Philly. Well, Doug Pederson is out as head coach of the Eagles after multiple meetings with owner Jeffrey Lurie. Pederson led Philly to their only Super Bowl title in the 2017 season, but they finished last in the NFC East this year. Pederson also took a ton of heat when he benched Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter of the regular season finale for Nate Sudfeld. So, Acho, do you agree with Eagles' decision to get rid of Doug Pederson?
No.
I told you it was
Terrible decision? The worst decision that the Eagles could have made. Here's a problem, Marcellus. Usually you hear the phrase, you made your bed, you got to lay in it.
Yeah.
The problem is for the Eagles, general manager Howie Roseman has made the bed and has forced Doug Pederson to lay in it.
Oh, we're going here.
This can all be brought down into this very simple analogy, very simple parallel. Howie Roseman has been shopping for the ingredients and telling Doug Pederson, you got to cook with what I bought you.
Oh.
And Doug Pederson is like, well, wait a second. If I got to cook, can I buy my ingredients? And Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are like, no, you are going to cook with what I, Howie Roseman, general manager, have bought you. Wait a second. You bought me Jalen Hurts in the second round. I didn't necessarily want Jalen Hurts. I don't care. Carson Wentz keeps struggling. Play Jalen Hurts. But I don't want to play Jalen Hurts. I want to play Carson Wentz. I don't care. Okay, you got me, and we still have Nate Sudfeld. In the last game of the season, I want Nate Sudfeld to get some burn. Well, Doug Pederson, what if I don't want to necessarily play Nate Sudfeld? Doesn't matter. Play him. And so Doug Pederson has now been looking around like, wait a second. I don't want to have to cook with the ingredients that you bought me. Let's look at the NFL organizations that have been great over the last several years, over the last decade. Bill Belichick, New England Patriots. Bill Belichick buys the ingredients, and he uses the ingredients that he buys. He's a general manager. Pete Carroll with John Snyder. The Bucs stops with Pete Carroll. He gets to dictate the players that are on that roster. Andy Reid, Brett Veach. Andy Reid, he has the final say on what's going on in the Kansas City Chiefs roster. You can never have a fully functioning organization when the general manager sees a picture one way and the head coach sees a picture the other way. And that's what's happening in Philly. How are you going to fault Doug Pederson when it's really a management and managerial issue? It ain't Doug Pederson's fault they $75 million over the cap. That's not on the head coach. So I think completely idiotic decision. I'm going to get into the rest later.
I don't think it was idiotic. I think the writing was on the wall. We just didn't want to read it. And you pointed out, highlighted a lot of the ills that happened with this organization. And we know the great savior for Doug Pederson for this long was really that Super Bowl championship. But I think that was also the ultimate ending in that moment of greatness is also going to be what's going to undermine you. Let me just go into detail about that. Doug Pederson, it's a couple cliches and Wileyisms just floating through my head right now. Don't always try to be everything to everyone. Sounds like one. Be hot or cold, not lukewarm. I shall spit you out my mouth. Doug Pederson tried to ride the fence as long as somebody could ride the fence. And finally, he ripped his jeans. And finally, he said, I got to change these jeans. And he needed to change his scenery because of this. Now, he was fired, but in part, he was fired because he probably didn't want to go along anymore with this fence ride, being torn between decisions I want to make and decisions that are being made for me. Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's what it usually comes down to in these type of situations. But here's the problem. Doug, you're the common denominator in so many ills with this organization. Let's talk about how Doug Pederson has a plan A. And plan A just never works out for Doug Pederson. Plan A, Carson Wentz is my guy. Okay, everybody, kumbaya, let's go with Carson Wentz. We got to use Nick Foles to get us our Super Bowl championship. Okay, no worries. Let's go to next year. Doug Pederson is looking like Carson Wentz, you're our guy again. Oh, damn, we got to use Nick Foles once again to save the day. comes up short, but still a playoff push. Then the next year, all right, Carson Wentz, you're our guy, right? You're our guy. Now relax, just play into your role. Carson Wentz regressed to an NFL historical level. And Doug Pederson is still riding with Carson Wentz. When everyone is watching, like, one, we already drafted at that position for a reason, so use him as a resource. Don't just have a resource on your roster that you can use in case of emergency, but don't use them in case of emergency. So Carson Wentz plays 12 of the most futile games we've seen at that position based on the heights he had already accomplished. But Doug Pederson, once again, common denominator through all these. His plan A's never worked. Finally, we get it. You over there exhaling. You mad at me? Finally, we get to the position where we are right now. Jalen Hurts does come in to save the day. Not necessarily the wins and losses, but give you the spark you needed. Also change the fate of this team this year, almost winning a division. But then what happens? Jalen Hurts can't even finish the season. And what occurs then? A controversy. Now, he only played 4 games, but now you got to deal with a controversy for 9 months because, once again, Doug Pederson's plan A didn't work out. And once again, no matter what's going on in this organization, there's only one common denominator in all of the highs and, unfortunately, all the lows. Doug Pederson.
That's fair, but then let's also acknowledge that Doug Pederson has been the common denominator for the greatness for the Eagles. Eagles start 11-3 with Carson Wentz.
I agree.
What happens? Carson Wentz gets hurt, but Doug Pederson still there, helps the team win the Super Bowl. Doug Pederson has been the common denominator when they made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. Now, mind you, only 3 other NFC teams have made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. Doug Pederson, 6th best record in the NFC since taking over in the last 4 years. Not since he got there, but in the last 4 years. Doug Pederson, 6th best record in the NFC. Marcellus, Doug Pederson could submit a blind resume and could say, hey, Jeffrey Lurie, owner of the Eagles, here is a resume. I have won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. I have made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. Only 3 other teams in the NFC have done so. And I also have the 6th best record in the NFC over the last 4 years. And the Eagles would look at this blind resume and say, wait a second, Super Bowl 3 years ago? One of 3 teams to make the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years? 6th best record in the conference in the last 4 years? Yes, you're hired. What's your name? Doug Pederson. Like me, Doug Pederson.
Spider-Man, you
submit his resume to the team that just fired him, and they would rehire him. That is how you know this is a terrible decision.
He can submit the blind resume, and then we do the Spider-Man. It's me. It's the same guy. But you have to be blind to hire him after you know all the details of his resume right here. First of all, you try to go with the simple, the Jerry Jones, Bill Parcells 2.0. Oh, man, you not letting me cook with the groceries that I want to buy. Stop it. Stop it. If you're a coach, coach.
No.
Coaching.
No.
Oh, I hate at the NFL level all of a sudden. I need to be in control of everything, but still only be called the head coach. No. It's just it works some places. It also doesn't work in some places. But we can get back into that narrative, but that's not even my point. I just don't like when I hear that. Doug Pederson, who's supposed to have been a quarterback whisperer, doesn't necessarily look like he whispered the right things into his quarterback's ears of late. You know why? Because Doug Pederson's record in his, 4 non-Super Bowl winning seasons with the Eagles was losing seasons with the Eagles. You keep saying blind resume, winning. Oh, you keep forgetting.
His total record?
Okay, let's go. His record since the Super Bowl?
9-7.
Losing.
9-7.
Losing.
4-11-1.
23-27-1, including playoffs. Okay. Here's some knocks against Pederson. Since you want to play this game right now, let's play a little hot potato. Please. You ain't going to throw these back. He's stuck with Carson Wentz too long. Be real. 3-8-1. Okay, whatever you want. Lose the division. A division you can win with 7 wins, but you're going to stick with your franchise guy, but end up still pulling him, while not pull him earlier so you can have a chance to win that division. You had the number 26 scoring offense in the NFL. Quarterback whisperer, you said? Lack of balance. They 62% passing, 38% run, especially when they had the leads. Few and far between, still when they had the leads. Second most penalized team in the NFL this year. I'll wait. I think that usually falls on the head coach and some discipline. I'm not done. There's some more hot potatoes.
Please.
Overly aggressive. We saw that too many times. Highest 2-point try percentage. How'd that work out for your butts? Over there rolling the dice every time. Failure to get Miles Sanders involved and you still being a quarterback whisperer.
That one I will give you.
Whisper to your running back.
That one I will give you.
Okay. Bad play calling. Not creative with the play calling, whatever you want to call it. Let's go back to 2-point play after 2-point play. Ravens, Giants games come to mind. How about the records of all your quarterbacks in this situation? How come your backups look better than your starter? All of that falls on your watch. All of that falls on your lap if you're Doug Pederson.
So, you know what else it falls on? The fact that for the first 14 weeks, the Eagles had 13 different offensive line combinations.
Yeah.
I would say it falls on that. I would also say it falls on the fact that Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, the two star tight ends, missed half the season at different points in time. I would say it falls on that. I would say it falls on the best deep threat receiver the NFL has ever seen statistically, Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Missed what, about 13 games this season?
At least.
I would say it falls on that. I would say it falls on Pro Bowl receiver Alshon Jeffrey, 6'5", 235 pounds. Didn't play until week 8 or 9 of the season and didn't really play well until week 13.
Until Jalen got there.
I would say it falls on that.
Jalen got there. Okay.
Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
Don't mention the other Jalen.
No.
Jalen Reagor. The first round pick
I know my
Howie
name.
Roseman drafted. I would also say,
so when they don't work out, you drafted them. When they do work out, I coached them up.
No, here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Come on,
the problem is this.
What's
the
this?
problem is you say this, hey, I'm going to buy you all these ingredients. You might not want them, but I'm going to buy them for you. You cook. Why you make a meal that I don't like? Well, I didn't want the ingredients. No. I'm buying you these ingredients. You cook. Hey, but I don't. Let's go back because you can remember this.
I'm gonna go way back after you go.
Let's go back to Albert Haynesworth. You should have been in the league still then. 2007.
He got
Albert Haynesworth signs the biggest guaranteed deal in NFL history for anybody, but also a defensive lineman. For the Washington football team, y'all know their former name. Why? Because Dan Snyder, owner of Washington, said, hey, I want this guy. Well, the head coach, Mike Shanahan, was like, I don't want this guy. 7 years, $100 million. Albert Haynesworth signed that deal for. He didn't last 2 seasons.
I know.
Why? Because the person that wanted him, that bought the ingredients, bought them and handed them to a chef, head coach Mike Shanahan, who didn't want him. And Mike Shanahan was relatively public about it. Sal, you know that I'm not making this up.
No, you're not.
There has to be
I've been in this situation.
Communication and a direct connect between management and coaches.
There needs to be communication, but not agreement. I will agree with you in this respect. It happens all the time. And unfortunately, it's happened once again, and we still haven't fixed this age-old division. But, you know, big bank takes little bank. Be real.
That's
like,
real.
We all have bosses if you are an employee. And if you are an employee, if your name is not on your check twice, that means you're an employee, everybody out there. Because if somebody else's name on your check, guess what? You're working for them somehow, some way. In some form or fashion, you must assimilate. I don't care in what way you do it, you have to do it. In this situation, I hate when coaches get into a place where they're like, I didn't even want this. I didn't even want these groceries. But you can't cook. I'm going to give you an example. You said let's go back. Let's go way back. Now, this is not a racial example, but it's just an example of showing, hey, you can still cook even if you don't buy the groceries.
Talk to me.
Let's talk about soul food. And I stopped eating soul food about a month ago. A little bit about a month ago. Nah, I love me some soul food. Boy, it's a weakness. It's like Cheetos and Hawaiian Punch. More. But here's the thing. How does soul food start? You really want to go there? It wasn't exactly Big Mama saying, hey, go get me some hog maws and some neck bones. Like, that was left over. That was just the way it was. That is just what you were allowed to deal with. These are the groceries. Guess what? Big Mama figured out how to cook it, no matter what the groceries look like. And that's why we love Big Mama's food. Hey, great coaches, big mamas, big daddies, whatever you want to call them. If you can cook, I don't give a damn what I give you. Make a meal out of it. And it's crazy. He made a meal out of it. That shows he has the potential, but he's falling short of it.
But let's talk about it because we can talk about the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. He was given some groceries that he couldn't cook with this year, and Cam Newton as well.
1 year.
But that's the point.
But in 20 years, he couldn't cook 14 years.
This is 1 year.
No. That record.
Doug Pederson was 9-7 last year. Playoffs. 9-7 the year before. Playoffs. 13-3 the year before. Super Bowl. 13-3. 9-7. 9-7. He was 4-11-1. 1 year. It was 1 year. If I were to ask anybody with some common sense, is Doug Pederson more likely to be 6-10 or 10-6? The answer is blatant. 10-6. You can't look at this 1 year, 4-11-1 and be like, you know what? Doug Pederson can't coach. You can't look at this 1 year in which all of their star receivers and receiving weapons were out and be like, Carson Wentz can't play and Pederson can't coach. No. That's entirely too reactionary.
Hold on, but it's not reactionary if you know what you're reacting to. You played in Philly.
Yes, sir.
You know Philly. You were in Philly when y'all went 10-6, and then what, 6-10? And then what happened after 6-10?
Get out of there.
Okay. Hey, man, you got got to know where you are. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Philly, know that you got a short leash no matter how great it's been. It's crazy. I agree. It's not uniform in how it's applied around the NFL. But there are some internal issues that went on that was supported by external issues. I'm on the outside looking. I'm like, this is a mess. Like, be real. You got a $128 million quarterback that can only win 3 games. And it's not because he's trying hard and doing his best and they just fall short. It's because he's part of the problem. Whether you signed off on him or not, you also hugged this guy in success. You can't now detach yourself from him in failure.
But let me ask you this. If a person starts a problem, isn't it up to that same person to be a part of the solution?
I love that, yes. If they can.
If Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz put themselves in this situation, again, I don't purely believe they did. What I believe happened is Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Jason Peters, Andre Dillard, offensive linemen. I believe that all them dudes getting hurt is a bigger factor in this problem than Carson Wentz just miraculously at 28 years old forgot how to play football. That Doug Pederson miraculously 2 years after winning a Super Bowl when the season started forgot how to coach. Like, what's more likely? That the injuries negatively impacted the Eagles roster, or that Carson Wentz at 28 years old just forgot how to play quarterback and Doug Pederson forgot how to coach? Like, let's just say, what's more likely?
Well, more likely is obviously that he's a great coach to good coach, not this kind of coach that gets fired. But also, let's say it in a real way. Sometimes, even in success, you can see the issues coming. You can see the failures that are not being presented, but that are looming. Here's the problem. Doug Pederson, you take away his successful, great year, then you start seeing average, 9-7, 9-7. Like, you start, and then this year, obviously, like, you just take away his one shot. Like, it almost looks like he was just lucky in 1 year and everything worked together because his backup saved the day. But that's not plan A. So now when we go with plan A is 9-7. And get knocked out of the first round. Plan A is 9-7 and our quarterback gets knocked out of a game. Like, plan A is 4-11-1. Like, that's plan A.
But let me say
this. You can't keep riding like that.
But let me say this then. If you were going to tell me that the Super Bowl was an outlier, which I would vehemently disagree with, but if you wanted to go there, then we also have to say that 4-11-1 is an outlier.
Okay, so now we're just 9-7 with a $130 million
But now we're 9-7 in the playoffs, 9-7 in the playoffs. What we know is this. The Giants won Super Bowls with 10-6 seasons.
Yes.
The Ravens won Super Bowls shortly thereafter with 10-6 seasons.
Yeah.
The Packers won Super Bowls with 10. All you got to do is get into the dance. So if you want to take out the high outlier of Doug Pederson's 13-3 Super Bowl and the low outlier of Doug Pederson's 4-11-1 terrible year this year, you still stuck with 9-7 playoffs.
And that's the problem. They don't want to be stuck. I know that a lot of people just want to survive, but other people want to thrive. And it's one thing to be survivors in the NFC East. It's the NFC East, first of all. Yay! Like, it's ripe right now for you to take it, and you're not taking full control over it. Here's my last point. And I knew Doug Pederson when I called him a political puppet, and I wasn't trying to disparage him. I was just trying to say, bruh, get off that fence, because you're speaking for an organization. Like, he was taking the hits, the media hits, everything. And we knew Brett Favre, his boy, tried to help him and say, man, speak from conviction. Make a decision, right or wrong, and stick to it. Doug Pederson was doing this, riding the waves. They finally crashed on him. And now I can only blame him because I've seen coaches go out on their sword.
Yes, sir.
Like, go out on their terms. Doesn't seem like he went out on his terms. It seemed like he didn't, right?
He didn't.
You can almost tell he went out trying to appease others, appease the situation, and then finally said, enough is enough.
Correct.
I'm out.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that, and that's a really good take. But here's where I am. Here's my final point. Here's my last thought process.
Let's go.
When you're talking about head coaches, look across the National Football League. What's the most questionable thing that Doug Pederson did all year long? The most questionable this year was playing for the tie against the Bengals instead of going for the win. You remember that. That's the one game that the Eagles tied. But that questionable decision was also the same decision that kept the Eagles in first place through like week 13 of the season. Like, that tie nearly won the Eagles the division. Yeah. The other questionable decisions people might say, you played Carson Wentz too long. You said that.
Yes,
I understand that.
Wow.
But Jalen Hurts was 1-3. If you don't want to give Jalen Hurts that last Washington loss, that's fine. That's fine. Now, keep in mind, he wasn't playing great through that, but if you don't want to give him that, that's fine. But Jalen Hurts statistically was 1-3. Carson Wentz was 3 whatever and whatever. Jalen Hurts was on track to win the same amount of games as Wentz. I know you hate saying on track, but I have no clear black and white data, so all I can do is project based on the analysis. So Doug Pederson, he ain't even really do anything questionable all season. Howie Roseman made the bed. Doug Pederson had to lay in it. Sorry for you, Doug. Coming up, Baker's Browns shocked Marcellus and the Steelers. I gotta go to the bathroom. Shocked me, though. We'll tell you, I'm going to tell you just how impressed I was with Cleveland yesterday. That's next. Speak for yourself.
Where is the bathroom? I'm going to be.
What's up, Speak for Yourself listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Browns, the Browns, forced 2 turnovers on the Steelers' first 2 possessions and went on to tie a playoff record with 28 points in the first quarter. Baker Mayfield had 3 touchdown passes with no turnovers, while Big Ben Roethlisberger threw for just over 500 yards, but had 4 interceptions. The Browns got their first playoff win in 26 years and did it with head coach Kevin Stefanski and others at home due to COVID. So, Marcellus, just had to let that breathe.
Let it breathe. I can hear it. I can feel it. Get him out, y'all.
So, Marcellus, are you impressed with the Browns or disappointed in the Steelers?
I'm disappointed in the Steelers. I'm going to say this because it feels like this is taking me back. This is almost post-traumatic stress right now I'm going through in this moment. Child Protection Services, statute of limitations, so this won't count against mama. Rest in peace. You ever, the moments before spanking, you try to talk your way through it and talk your way out of it, mama. But the reason is, and I ain't do that, and my sister, and your mama just sitting there like, I feel like that right now. You just looking at me like my mom, Just go ahead and say what you're going to say about these damn Steelers and how disappointed you are. And I'm going to do it, but I know, why? I know it's coming, because the Steelers didn't handle their business. I'm just going to start off with a nugget to hopefully protect me in a force field because I can't believe what happened. I actually predicted what happened. We'll get to that later. Steelers, what the hell were y'all thinking when Captain Ben Roethlisberger, Captain Pounce, you can't even snap the ball on the first play from scrimmage.
Bad.
Beyond bad, it was so telling that this team wasn't ready from the hello. And because they weren't ready from hello, it was the imperfect storm. I've never seen this many bad things happen for a team at once to the point where you blink, it's 28 donut after the first quarter. So I don't really have a ton to say. I could beat you up, but I actually want to hear you whip me, mama, and then let me talk back because it was just really, it was really wild to watch a team in the playoffs, 11-0 team at one time, fall from those heights to the moment where you saw even the first play from scrimmage in the playoffs, do or die, they weren't ready for that moment. But Acho, that wasn't really a take. That was just a preparation for this.
Marcellus,
I know.
Some people, incredibly mature people in this world, incredibly wise people in this world, so they don't relish in other people's pain.
Okay.
Right? Like some incredibly mature individuals, they don't relish in saying, I told you so.
I love you, Acho.
I'm not some people. Because I told you so. What did I tell you, Sal?
What?
On Friday, on October 7th, on week 16, I came on this show, and I'm yelling for a reason, America, because this hard-headed individual right here don't want to hear when I use my inside voice. So now I got to yell. I said the Browns are top 10 in rush offense, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said the Browns are top 10 in rush defense, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said the Browns are top 10 in turnover margin, didn't I?
I heard.
Yeah, that's
something
what
like
I said,
that.
Marcellus.
I got lost.
And what happened yesterday? The Browns ran the ball, the Browns stopped the run, and the Browns won the turnover battle 5-0. Marcellus came on this show on Friday and said, Acho, I ain't worried about the Browns. They beat the Steelers JV team week 17. I said, Marcellus, I understand that they beat the Steelers JV team, but it's not about who they beat. It's about how they played. That's what I said. I said, it's not about who they beat. It's about how they played. That's what I said. I said, it's not about who they beat, Marcellus. It's about how they played. So what happened when they played the Steelers varsity team? It didn't matter who were out there. The opponents were nameless. The opponents were faceless. The opponents were just the opponents. What happened? Bring up the full screen.
Oh, my God.
Bring up the full screen.
This is your moment.
The Steelers weren't able to stop the run because the Browns could run the ball. Oh, my God. And the Browns could stop the run. Look at the rushing differential. It was plus 75 for the Browns. But bump all that. Get to the turnover margin. Plus 5. Marcellus, I'm not just up here talking out my behind. I know sometimes I talk out my behind, sometimes I don't. But when I talk about my Browns, I talk from my heart. Think about this. 5 out of the 6 teams that won the playoff games, they won the rushing margin. They won running the ball. 5 out of the 6 teams that won the playoff game this weekend, they won or tied the turnover margin. Marcellus, it is not quantum physics. It is not rocket science. If you can run the ball and if you can stop the run, you can win the game. That's what the Browns have done all season long. That's what they did against the Steelers. I'm impressed with the Browns. You finally got to take these Browns seriously. I'm so glad you got to take these Browns seriously and stop all that foolishness. And don't worry, because Bucky Brooks coming on the show here soon, and I saved a couple lashes for him, too.
2 things right there. I'm not hard-headed. I'm just a man of conviction. When I believe it, I believe it. And I'm going to ride down there till the wheels fall off. Another thing, since you want to bring up 5 of 6 teams that won this weekend by running the football.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was actually 5-0 in terms of predictions. Not only predictions, but tone, style, win-loss differential, like in terms of point difference. I was nailing them. And then I looked at my wife, and I looked at her and said, oh, you look good, girl. Then I also said, baby, no one's perfect in this world, so this 6th game is going to be interesting. Who in the hell knew? You talking about running the football and stopping the run. Oh, you knew that Pouncey was going to snap the ball to the end zone.
I didn't. That was irrelevant.
How the hell is that irrelevant? I'm going to tell you why it's irrelevant. Go ahead. I can't wait. You gave the wrong team the right opportunity in terms of a team that can run the football, in terms of a team that had a quarterback that's a leader, that is more of a front runner, that is more of a guy who likes adversity. But you know what? In this moment, he had no adversity, and he said, you know what? I don't know what to do. I got these fresh legs. We didn't practice all week. I'm out here without a coach. Alex Van Pelt called a hell of a game. Give him all the credit in the world. That's my former teammate. And the Browns went out there and saw the Pittsburgh Steelers play a bad game of Uno. You ever play a bad game of Uno? You ever seen somebody play a bad game of Uno? They got draw fours in their hand, and they just start playing them early. Don't play the draw fours too early. You know why? Because now you give me a bunch of cards to play with my damn self. That's what happened in this game. I swear the Pittsburgh Steelers just said, okay, we're going to figure out how we're going to play y'all, but we're going to give y'all 28 and then go. You notice in this game, after they blinked, it was 28 donut. The rest of the way, it was 37-20 Pittsburgh. But they were so deep in that hole, they couldn't do anything. Who did you think that Juju and his bulletin board material will blow up in his face in that fashion?
I did. I'm going to get to that later.
Oh, you going to get to that later? Okay, man, see, I can't predict all these things. I can't predict Pouncey doing that. I can't predict Juju doing that and the impact it's going to have. All I'm saying is football, if they were to play again this week, Pittsburgh will mop them boys. But here we go. They're not, and I'm going to let that go because I don't want to sound like that when I go to Cleveland whenever I do. I don't want to be that dude, but I am not going to lie. This wasn't just a game that you lost. This was a game that they gave you in terms of how the Pittsburgh Steelers performed.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, they played bad. Terrible.
No, don't do that. Worse than that.
Yeah, they played terrible.
Worse than that.
But I'm not going to act like the Browns did not play a factor. Outside of Pouncey's terrible snap first play of the game, like, the Browns gave them that work. They gave them that.
Really? They lose by 11?
When you
give them 7?
The game of football, you knew this because you was in the trenches. I just toy with the trenches. I'll be jump in, jump out, turn. I didn't stay in the trenches, but you know this. The game of football is about imposing your will on another man. God, no, it's like, oh my God, no, don't do this, don't do this. The game of football is, hey, I know you're going to run the ball, and I can't stop you. I want to stop you, but I can't. And the Browns said, hey, Steelers, y'all know what we going to do. We about to line up in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, 13 personnel with 3 tight ends, and we just going to run the ball. Good luck stopping us. So, yes, the Steelers made some mistakes, but the Browns caused several of those mistakes. Here's the other thing. Here's why I was so impressed with the Browns, because they did what they've done all season. Baker didn't play out of his mind. Baker all season, 61% completion percentage. Yesterday, 62% completion percentage. Baker all season, 220 yards a game. Yesterday, 260 yards a game. Baker all season thrown 1 interception in his last 349 passes. Yesterday, no interceptions. Baker did what Baker has done all season long.
But the Steelers didn't do what they've done all season long.
They didn't.
And that's the problem. Look, I don't want to make excuses, and I know having an argument.
Then don't.
Well, I can't come up here for 10 minutes and let you just talk and nothing else.
Okay, you're right. Fight back.
But, man, this is a weird place because we've been there before. You win games you shouldn't, and you lose games you're like, damn, should we have lost that game? This is just one that I'm indifferent about. If not, I'm saying Steelers. Why'd you lose this game? Ben Roethlisberger, 3 first-half turnovers. Ben Roethlisberger, like, Pouncey, snap the ball. Like, when you can't snap the ball, that lets me know, oh, it's fall apart from the seams. This is a different game. Browns balled. How the Browns going to look next week? How the Browns going to do next week? We're going to talk about that later in this week, but look at your face right now. Dance all you want right now, but grab the towel because you're going to have to wipe your brow because it's going to end really soon in terms of how great Cleveland feels. But the point is, how did they get past Pittsburgh? Did they slam on them? Did they say, we taking it from you? Or did Pittsburgh say, here you go, alley-oop on steroids?
That's fair. A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Because it's one thing when the turnover occurs in the NFL, all of a sudden, people on the bench, defense on the bench, we hear this. Sudden change.
Sudden change.
But what's our job? What do they say? You're a fireman. Go put the fire out. That's what they tell you as a defender. Hey, when the offense turns the ball over, go put the fire out. The Steelers couldn't do that. So even when Big Ben turned the ball over after the first interception that he threw high, the Browns capitalized. The Browns said, hey, I don't care that you're trying to put the fire out. Not today. Not on my watch. But here's my other thing. So it's like, I said this, and people thought I was so dumb when I said this. The Browns lost to the Ravens, what was it, week like 14. Lamar Jackson trolls back out. And I said, the Ravens winning got the Ravens closer to the playoffs, but the Browns losing got the Browns closer to the Super Bowl. You remember that?
I do remember that.
People are like, what the hell are you talking about, Acho? The Browns losing got them. Because I said this. The Ravens had beat the Browns by 32 earlier. Now the Browns almost beat them. The Steelers had beat the Browns by 31 earlier. And then the Browns went and beat the Steelers JV team, but then they mollywopped the Steelers varsity team because the Browns just needed confidence. They always had the talent. I knew they had the talent. You was a little ignorant of it, but you was trying to see they had the talent. They always had the talent. When they played the Ravens tough, they had the confidence. When they beat the Steelers, even though it was JV, they gained and regained the confidence, and then they went and just put it on them boys.
They went and put it on them boys. I just can't go that far with this. Look,
That's it. Look, a golf clap. Thank you.
I'm at that one in Arizona. What's that one called where they really rowdy at that one? I forget the name of it. But the point is this. I'm not giving you Browns all this credit. One, I already know what's going to happen this week. Two, I don't even think what I saw last week would ever occur again. I don't think you ever get onto an NFL game. We played a lot of NFL games in our career.
More than I.
Stupid. We played a lot of football in our.
Fair.
When have you ever walked into the huddle? All right, guys, y'all ready? This is done. It's done. All right, break. And then you were like, in your stance, you're like, and then the ball snapped. You look up. What's going on? Oh, 7? All right. Baker Mayfield jogged on the field. He was like, yo, we already up? You mean I don't have to prove myself in this early moment? And that's not to take away from it because that's the game of football. But that is, here we go. This is what I'm trying to say. In the Super Bowl era, teams are 0-19 when they have a turnover differential of -5 or worse. Guess what? They had 5 turnovers, Acho. It's a wrap on that game. But be real, me and you betting right now. If they were to run it back, how would that go?
I'm always Browns, baby.
Oh, God, you're still getting that check. I'm not talking to you. Coming up, I'm sorry, you guys, for the take, and I had to get beat up by him. Lamar Jackson got his first playoff win. We'll tell you if this will silence his critics. Next, speak for yourself. Now something I could talk about.
Hey, Speak for Yourself listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Tonight is a Big East showdown as 25th ranked UConn. Hey, shout out to my daughter, Morocco. Battles DePaul tonight at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Go Huskies. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Lamar Jackson said his #1 goal was to, quote, erase the narrative that he could not win a playoff game. Well, got his first one yesterday. Lamar had 315 total yards, including a 48-yard touchdown run. Ooh, that was a highlight. The win also gave the reigning MVP some revenge over the Titans, who knocked Baltimore out of the playoffs last season. So, Acho, did Lamar silence his critics yesterday?
Big dog, he didn't silence them, but he turned the volume down. Every now and then I'll be sitting in the living room and I'm like, this is annoying. I'll be listening to this TV. I'm trying to take a nap.
You watching other networks?
No, never that.
Boy, what's annoying?
But yesterday, I was trying to take a nap in between games.
Okay.
But I didn't want to turn the TV completely muted because I wanted to be mindful of what's going on in case something pops off. So what I do? I just turned the volume down a little bit. That's what Lamar Jackson did. He didn't silence them because what are Lamar Jackson's critics critical of? Not only that he can't win a playoff game, but how he was losing his playoff game.
Preach.
He was losing his playoff games by not being able to pass the ball when it mattered. But still, yesterday, Lamar Jackson, how'd they win that game? He won it by running the ball. But remember, the Ravens last year, Lamar Jackson ran for 143 yards on 20 attempts. Actually, more yards than he ran for yesterday. The Ravens last year, Lamar Jackson threw for 365 yards. Actually, more yards than he threw for yesterday. But the difference was the outcome. I told y'all, in the NFL, we don't judge by action, we judge by outcome. Because the Ravens won the game, all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson, he's great now. Lamar Jackson still struggled through the air. 179 yards, no passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Still struggled through the air to a degree, to the degree that would silence the critics. But what'd he do? He made a splash play on the ground. We know Lamar can make splash plays on the ground. Lamar did not completely silence the critics, but he turned the volume down for a day or two.
I like that take. I like that tape. It also told me something about Acho and the takes that I'm going to hear from you going forward. A lot of your takes are based off of you watching the game while napping. Okay. Makes sense why you missed that play right there, missed that narrative right there. What happened? And then you and Orlowski get on your little iPads and start doing all these videos. Y'all asleep. Shut up. Okay, here's the thing. Acho. He should have silenced his critics, but of course he didn't. Even Lamar Jackson stated this post-game. He said, look, there's always going to be naysayers no matter what. We all know that the cost of praise is criticism. You get all the love, guess what? The flip side of that coin is you're going to get some hell. Don't believe us? Look at anybody who's in the Limelight's Twitter feed. No matter how much you do, no matter what you do, somebody is always going to take issue with that. I get it. But Lamar Jackson, let's talk about some of these narratives, some of these criticisms that should be just shut the hell up. Can't come back from behind, not built to play without a lead. Oh, yeah, really? Thought they rallied from 10-0 in the first quarter to win yesterday. They did, okay. He's not accurate enough, come on. Oh, well, second highest completion percentage in the playoff game in Ravens history yesterday. Can't win that way in the playoffs. Oh, really? 165 passing yards and no touchdown passes in a win. You can't win that way? Yes, you can. Not mature enough. Well, looked like he was mature enough to make sure that he did whatever it took for his team to win. Now the Ravens won 6 straight games. And Lamar Jackson during that winning streak, 16 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions. They're going to find another way to move these goalposts. Those critics out there, they got some big muscles. But the thing about it is, if you're criticizing Lamar Jackson, just take a deep look in the mirror and realize how many times you've already criticized him, how many hurdles you've laid in front of him, and how many times he's hopped over that same adversity. Continue to put the hurdles in front of him, he'll continue to hop over them. Got to bring in our guy, Fox NFL analyst, Bucky Brooks. Buck, prepare. Did Lamar silence his critics in his first playoff win?
Well, I mean, I think he did quiet some of the noise down, like Emmanuel Acho was saying, because there was a lot of noise around Lamar just based on how he was playing and the style of play that he prefers and the lack of wins that the Baltimore Ravens had in the postseason. So they had to get the win out the way so they could move past that and we could begin to appreciate the uniqueness of his talent. Because what he did was really nothing short of remarkable in terms of he put 100 rushing up, 100 passing. He continued to be the driving force of this offense, which is a run-first offense. And so much of what we heard is Lamar Jackson can't bring them back. So they fall down 10-0. He has an interception. What is he going to do? Is he going to fall apart? And what he showed was the resiliency and the toughness that we wanted to see from him. Now, going forward, can he put this offense on his back versus good teams in critical playoff games? Can he get this team not only to the AFC Championship, but can he get them to the Super Bowl? Those are the next frontiers that he must conquer. But I think for the time being, yes, he silenced his critics for maybe a week, because next week they'll come, because then the comparisons between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen will begin to dominate the conversation. Which one is the better one in the 2018 draft class?
That's a good note. That's a good note. We're going to include Baker Mayfield, but I'll talk to y'all.
Oh, boy, stop. Stop.
Now look here. I'm not mad at that take. I think that take was fairly accurate. Here's the problem. Lamar Jackson has to understand his success is his biggest enemy. Like Lamar Jackson, unanimous MVP last year. So the fact that the critics have been critical, we've been critical of barrier number one. Can you win a playoff game? Like, critics have been critical of Lamar Jackson for something that, Mitch Trubisky or Matthew Stafford haven't done. Like, we haven't been critical of him for the things that GOATs haven't necessarily done. But when you're a unanimous MVP, you now get to be put in that GOAT conversation. It might be GOAT of the year, it might be GOAT of an era, it might be GOAT of a decade, but nonetheless, when you do something that rarely anybody ever does, you get propelled into these types of conversations. Here's what we really got to focus on, though. The narrative and what Lamar Jackson did, his performance, to me, it's almost irrelevant, because what really won him that game? The defense. Derrick Henry had 40 total rushing yards. Last year, 195 rushing yards. Again, Lamar Jackson, you could very easily argue and make the case he played just as good in totality against the Titans last year as he did yesterday. You could make that case in totality. But what's the difference? Derrick Henry was held in check. The Titans' offense was held in check. So instead, the Ravens got the win, and now the narrative is changing because of the outcome. Action didn't really change all that much. So like Marcellus said, the goalposts will continue to be moved. But if we're being honest, it should be moved, because Lamar Jackson winning a playoff game, that isn't all that big a deal for someone as talented as Lamar Jackson.
Man, damn,
that's how it's gonna go.
I like it, but I don't like it. I don't know if I'm mad at the way the world is, or if I'm just mad at hearing your take, knowing that that's the way the world is. Here's the thing. What's the point of winning an MVP? Excuse me, let me correct myself. A unanimous MVP if it doesn't get you anything of equity, of room, of just benefit of doubt. That's what I'm really taking issue with here, guys. And I'm just about to hit y'all with a machine gun of nuggets real quick to just let you know who Lamar Jackson is. Third youngest quarterback ever to win a playoff game and MVP. Youngest quarterback ever to win a playoff game and unanimous MVP. Fastest quarterback to ever win 30 games in NFL history. Youngest MVP ever. Lamar Jackson right now, last 6 games, is playing at a better clip than he did when he won the MVP. But no one wants to talk about all that. They just want to keep saying he didn't win a playoff game before yesterday. Okay. Let's talk about the notable quarterbacks at the same age, check the birth certificates, of Lamar Jackson when he won his playoff game. And these quarterbacks did not win a playoff game at the same age. Tom Brady, is he any good? Joe Montana, wonder how he turned out. Peyton Manning, good Lord, is this a top 5? Is this a Mount Rushmore? Drew Brees, oh, really? Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, John Elway. Literally, I probably just named the 7 of the top 10 quarterbacks ever. My point is, I've lived through all of these guys. I don't remember the narrative as strong,
let's be real,
as highlighted as it was for Lamar Jackson, and that's my issue. I chose.
Let me put it like this, Sal. Let's move away from football, because we can all understand different things at different times when we get away from trying to push our agendas or our narratives. Okay. If Drake comes out with an album, assuming you're a Drake fan, Bucky, assuming you rock with Drake even a little bit, Drake comes out with an album, you expect bangers on there. Bangers. Because Drake has already given you bangers. Now, Drake could come out with an album that was really good for somebody else, but because it's Drake and he's already set the bar, you'd be like, eh. But if somebody else came out with that same album, we'd be like, yo, can you believe what they did? Beyonce comes out with an album. Several people be like, yo, bangers, that's what you expect. Now, if somebody else came out with the same thing, for Beyonce, it might be underwhelming. But for the other person, you'd be like, oh, my God, that was amazing. It's the same thing with Lamar Jackson. When you're a unanimous MVP, you have already given us a platinum, gold, double platinum, whatever the highest bar is. Diamond. You've already given us that. So now every time you come out there, that's what we want. We view it the same way in other industries, Sal. We view it the same way in other industries, but I'm not surprised and I'm not mad at us for viewing it like this in this football domain.
No, I like this. I think what makes it so cloudy is like we don't necessarily hold everybody to the same standard. And that makes it difficult because it seems like the goalposts are always moving for certain guys. And so for Lamar Jackson coming into the league, the way that he really kind of burst onto the scene, taking over for Joe Flacco, getting his team into the playoffs each and every year that he's been the starting quarterback, we begin to expect more from him because in the second year, he earns the MVP and he was the unanimous selection. We do expect more. And so, look, Vince Lombardi said the reward for accomplishment is more work. And so for Lamar Jackson,
that's a tweet. That's a tweet.
We now have more accomplishments that we want to see him check off because what he's already done, and Marcellus, you've already kind of put this out there, he's an all-timer.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is we're comparing him to some of the best that have ever played the position in this game. And so, yes, the standard is high. And as he continues to check off these accomplishments, we want to see him make more notable achievements so we can give him his just desserts because he has come into this league and he has put himself in a category where we should be talking about him as potentially a gold jacket candidate based on how he's played his first 3 seasons in the league.
Let me turn a concept on its head, if you all would allow me. Let's all three quickly have a discussion. We use this word moving the goalpost with a negative connotation, but if I can, Marcellus, Bucky, let's talk. I don't know if moving the goalpost is a bad thing or a great thing for Lamar Jackson. When we say move the goalpost, all we're doing is saying the exact same thing that happens in track and field with the high jump. You clear one height, they move the bar higher to make you clear another height. Then they move the bar higher to make you clear another height. But Bucky and Lamar, if we were to never move the bar higher, or to use a football colloquial, move the goalpost, we would never actually understand how talented someone was because our expectations would be so low for them that if they continue to exceed our lowly expectations, we never proclaim their true greatness. So I don't really have a problem with analysts, critics moving the goalposts because by moving the goalposts, all we're doing is saying, hey, Lamar, we understand how good you can be. Go show us just how good you can be.
I like that. I like that. The only difference, the thing that sticks out about those analogies, that example is 7 feet is supposed to be 7 feet. Like, it's not about just moving it up for Lamar. It's about, oh, you tell Lamar it's 7 feet, and that's really 8 feet, bro. And then he like, oh, really? Because if you look through history at different times of a player's career, I know the scrutiny is different now. It's pervasive because of all the social media and the critics and people like us. I mean, there are thousands of us all always talking about the same thing. But damn, let's try to find some uniformity, at least in the measurements. And that's why I have an issue with this dude is doing historical things. And we keep saying, that's all right. But what about this? And we're like, wait a minute. You mean what about making history? And that's my only issue with this. So Lamar Jackson is my Drake. But Drake is in the subjective world where it's like, oh, I like it. You don't like it. Whatever. Long Drake's making music and getting those numbers. I don't think Drake minds. And now it sounds like by Lamar's comments, he doesn't mind either. Coming up, Baker Mayfield got his first playoff win last night. We'll tell you if he actually proved anything. That's next. Oh, Bucky's
hey, Bucky, don't go nowhere.
I knew. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Baker Mayfield and the Browns shocked the Steelers with a huge win last night and the rest of the world as well. Baker threw 3 touchdown passes and did not have a turnover in his first career playoff win. Browns were without head coach Kevin Stefanski and others to COVID, but Baker said their goal was to, quote, do our job because no one believed in us besides us. And Acho, Bucky is back with us, but Acho, Mr. Believer, what did Baker prove in his win over the Steelers?
Baker Mayfield proved that he is a franchise quarterback, that he is the franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield proved once and for all you haters, Bucky, and all you naysayers, Marcellus, that he is the realest of the deals. Now, y'all looking at me confused. Don't worry, I'm going to wipe that confusion off your face real quick. The Browns, they didn't really have a chance. Let you tell it. The Browns, they didn't really have a chance. Let Bucky tell it. But wait a second. Baker Mayfield came out there. 3 touchdowns, Bucky Brooks. Baker Mayfield came out there. No interceptions, Bucky Brooks. Now, Marcellus, here's what's funny. Because after Baker Mayfield had already led the Browns to a 35-10 lead, there was still some skepticism amongst some people that I think are wise. But yesterday, they almost proved the opposite because Bucky Brooks took to Twitter, I don't know why, and he posted this.
What did he do?
He said, I heard that Emmanuel Acho was looking for me. I was, Bucky. He said, tell him that I'm watching the game to see how his QB1 Baker Mayfield handles the fourth quarter of a playoff game. Thinking face. Bucky, you should have put some glasses on that emoji to match yourself. Now, Baker Mayfield responded to Bucky Brooks with a 6-play, 80-yard touchdown drive, bloused this. That was the game. So what Baker Mayfield proved to me is that he is a franchise quarterback, that he is the franchise quarterback, and even when the Steelers tried to fight back, Baker Mayfield said, not today.
Ooh, look, I'm going to tell you one thing right here.
What?
And this is real. Baker Mayfield balled yesterday. I'm going to say that. I'm going to get that out the way. Cleveland, let me in your city again one more time because Baker Mayfield balled yesterday.
Can you say it louder? I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Baker Mayfield balled yesterday based on expectation. No, he balled. I mean, look, when you have no turnovers and 3 touchdowns, look, I ain't going to hate on you like that, big dog. But I still don't believe in you. You didn't prove anything to me because I already knew who Baker Mayfield was. Baker Mayfield, once again, proves that he's at his best when he's counted out. Now, everyone's like, yeah, that's who Baker Mayfield is, back against the wall, and that Baker Mayfield's going to come out swinging. Even though sometimes he just walks up to a wall and puts his back on it and say, take a picture, my back's against the wall. And that's who Baker Mayfield is. So think about it. He proves that he's at his best when counted out. But when you want to count on him, when there's not this level of adversity, their coach is gone, and Baker Mayfield just go out there and put the team on your shoulders, your throwing arm, and lead us to victory, that's when Baker Mayfield is not at his best. Acho, that's why I don't think Baker Mayfield still is a franchise quarterback. I don't believe in that because I don't like someone like this. I have a niece who's just like this, who I love to death, but I don't trust her with valuable things in my life because she finds a way to fumble them. Like when you say, okay, I'm through, I'm done, all of a sudden she's like, no, Uncle, I got you. I can do this. And she does. And then it's like, okay, now you start to give her a little more rope, a little more leash, and you're like, all right, here you go. Now deal with this. Baker Mayfield, once you give him that rope, that opportunity, that leash, you say, I believe in him. Things are going well. That's when he goes right back to what he's most comfortable being. Back against the wall, all adversity in front of him, then he's going to come out swinging. I can't deal with that yo-yo, bro.
So this is really, really hard for me, right? Because it's hard for me because my dad has always told me, like, when you lose, you should humbly walk across the field, shake hands, and tip your cap to the better person. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do something that my dad would absolutely hate. I'm going to do a Lamar Jackson. I'm just going to run out the tunnel because I didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything last night. Yeah. What am I supposed to learn from the game last night? Because here's what I know, Marcellus and Emmanuel Acho. I'll direct this to you because here's what I know. The statistics tell me that if you win the turnover battle by +4, you're supposed to win 98% of the games. That means if I don't even show up, but if I somehow get 4 turnovers, I am pretty much guaranteed to win. In the first quarter, the Pittsburgh Steelers gave the Cleveland Browns 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers. And so they were gifted 21 points early. They stretch out to a 28-point lead. There's never any pressure on the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't have to make any plays under duress because the game is easy. So if I have to go down the priority list of guys that I would say that I learned about, here's what I learned in that game last night. I learned that Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator, deserves a lot of credit because they did a great job of slowing down the Pittsburgh Steelers and creating turnovers. I also learned that Alex Van Pelt deserves a lot of credit for calling a game plan, for having a game plan that was perfect. They ran the ball. They ran nice, simple screen passes, some easy things. So Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, their best offensive players, could get the ball and do what they do. I give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit for creating a culture that allows this team to operate without him even being present. And then I would give some credit to Baker Mayfield because as a game manager, he did a very good job of managing the game and getting the team to the winner's circle in perfect conditions. So yes, Baker Mayfield, I am giving you the golf clap. We're doing exactly what you should do with everything played out in your direction.
I'm glad y'all kept it a 3-box because I need this quick 3-box. Then let's get rid of these 2 nonsensical individuals. There's nothing worse in life than people who are willfully ignorant. And you, too, are choosing to be willfully ignorant against Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm going to say something that y'all not going to like. But if you think about it, it's going to be pretty gosh darn true. Baker Mayfield needs to be mentioned in the same conversations as far as galvanizing a team as Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Oh, gosh dang it. Now,
can I curse?
Once y'all get your immature groans out the way, and you let me make my point. Baker Mayfield, the 2 years prior to joining Cleveland, they were 1-31. Josh Allen, 2 years prior to Buffalo, 16-16. Lamar Jackson, 2 years prior to Baltimore, 17-15. But somehow, some way, they all won their first playoff game at the same time. Somehow, some way, they were 11-5. That was the Browns. 11-5. That was the Ravens. 13-3. That was the Bills. All very comparable. Now, I'm going to break it down for you since y'all want to roll your eyes and not take the Browns nor Baker Mayfield seriously. Lamar Jackson was drafted into a good organization with talent that fit him. He won immediately. Josh Allen was drafted into a good organization but needed talent that fit him. Stephon Diggs. He won a little bit later. Baker Mayfield was drafted into a bad organization that needed talent to fit him. Kevin Stefanski showed up along with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and now he is winning. So wait a second. Just because Lamar Jackson is more electric, which he is, just because Josh Allen is more intimidating, which he is, let's not sleep on Baker Mayfield, who, as far as galvanizing a team, is getting the job done. Because 1-31 2 years prior to 11-5 and a playoff win is just as impressive, gentlemen, as what Lamar Jackson has done collectively for the Ravens and what Josh Allen has done collectively for the Bills. Let's not talk about individually. Let's talk about collectively as a team, game.
Oh, God. Save yourself, Acho, from the stupid comparisons right here. Oh, now Baker Mayfield is MC8 now. A messed up childhood is why the way I am. Like, I don't give a damn where you from. Like, it's about, don't talk about I'm a product of my environment. Be produced for your environment, Baker Mayfield. Okay.
He did.
Okay, he
shut you up. And Bucky, he shut you up.
No, he didn't shut me up.
Right here. And guess what? You know what he did? He just undermined his whole Deshaun Watson arguments when he started coming back up here because Deshaun Watson went to an organization that had went to the playoffs 2 straight years before he got there. But since he's been there for 4 years, only went twice. And you were telling me, I don't want to hear about that. Now, when you bring that up again.
What you said didn't make sense. What you said didn't make sense.
Yeah, it did. And you'll find out when you start talking that Deshaun Watson stuff again about the hood took me under. Here's the thing. Baker Mayfield was not pressured on any of his 34 dropbacks in the win. This is why I look at this victory, or at least his performance, with a little skepticism. How do you go through a game when I'm a guy who made my money in the trenches and not one time pressured on those dropbacks? Good Lord. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield. And I said he balled because I'm still going to respect him because he went out there and performed. But let's talk about those 3 touchdown passes, right? Because the devil's in the details. Oh, a 10-yard pass to Jarvis Landry. Oh, Jarvis did 30 yards after the catch. Okay, no problem. He had another one. He had 2 more, actually. Screen pass, to Nick Chubb. Oh, 42 yards after the catch. No. Stop doing that, Marcellus. You're hating. 7-yard pass to Austin Hooper, who was completely wide open in the end zone. Oh, okay, whatever. So Baker Mayfield, who has 263 yards. But then yards after the catch in the game were 170. Last time I checked, I chose 97 yards by Baker Mayfield. The rest was done by those players who make Baker Mayfield. So when you're a Browns team that gets 5 turnovers and your drives average starting at the 40-yard line, got the ball in Steelers territory 4 different times, and once on their own 47, don't you come up here like this dude is dragging the whole team up the hill on his back, because that's not what I saw last night. But you didn't see it either, because you take naps before the game and during it.
See, it's so easy to fight from victory. See, because I'm up here fighting, knowing I done already won this conversation. Y'all up here trying to grasp for every word. Bucky, you grasping for every tweet. Oh, I'm up here knowing I already won this conversation. Now, look, Bucky and Marcellus have both come up here and said, the Steelers gave the ball to the Browns so many times. That's why the Browns won. Who gave the ball to the Steelers all those times? The quarterback. It's interesting, because Baker Mayfield plays quarterback. So, the fact that the Browns won the turnover margin 5-0 is relatively indicative of how careful Baker Mayfield was with the ball. Oh, and Baker only threw 8 interceptions all season. So, wait a second. Can we not give some credit to that man, to that dude, Baker Mayfield, who averages 3 more touchdowns per interception than he does all season long? Bucky. You should have listened to your dad, because your dad told you walk over and shake the other gentleman's hand. My arm has been out, Bucky, this whole block. I'm just waiting on the handshake. Don't leave me hanging. You have to hold me up, bro. Hanging.
So here's where Acho messed up. See, because Acho, you shouldn't have brought me on the block before, because the argument that you presented for Lamar Jackson, I'm going to use that argument against you, because you said Lamar Jackson was so talented and transcendent that we have to move the goalposts because we want more. And so my evaluation of Baker Mayfield is judged on expectations that came along with him being the #1 overall pick. Because when you're first, you're expected to be the best. But yet you pulled up that full screen that had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. And 2 of those guys I've heard bantied about as MVP candidates. One of those guys is not in that conversation. But what's interesting is Lamar Jackson was 32nd. He was the last of the first round. He has that trophy. Josh Allen this year is in the conversation for that trophy. But when I look around, I don't hear Baker Mayfield in the conversation as the MVP, which is
Wait, so
the best player.
Mad, Bucky.
I tell you, got to respect this. I thought you arguing from a position of victory.
He's not going enough me. Not on my show.
No.
He's not going enough
now it's your show. That's what we do. This dude win 1 game, and now it's his show. Okay.
Finish your take, Bucky.
I like how this is turning out.
Bucky. You got
it's
about 20
revealing.
seconds.
Bucky gave you a shot clock? Hell no. Bucky, speak on it. Speak for yourself, homie. Let's hear it.
Expectations. And here I am. I'm so blown away because you're ready to just give this guy a champagne shower because he won a playoff game. But you know who else won a playoff game in their first team? Blake Bortles won one. Case Keenum won his first playoff game. Marcus Mariota. Brock Osweiler, the mighty Brock Osweiler, won first playoff game. Mark Sanchez won his first playoff game. So am I just supposed to slip out all my ones and just make it rain because Baker? Look, and so as we talk about the talent, here I am thinking that we are trying to judge Baker Mayfield on a standard that he is compared to Drake, but all I keep hearing in my voice is Ja Rule. That's what he's Ja Rule.
Ja Rule was bad.
He's not transcendent. I mean, what I do without my paper?
What would I do without you?
I want some of that too. I know you want to finish this.
No.
You got this?
I got. I'm still round 6 for your boy. Now look, Bucky Brooks. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And I'm not mad at what. That's the thing about me, Bucky. I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm collected.
That's your way of saying he got a point in. I'm not mad.
But here's what you got to look at, Bucky. Baker Mayfield taking a franchise that had won 1 game out of their previous 32 to now winning 11 games and beating a Steelers team when no one gave them a chance, you nor Marcellus. I will stand up and clap for that, Bucky. I might lose my
can't. How about that mic about to come off?
I will stand up, Bucky Brooks, and clap for that. Because, yes, Josh Allen's been impressive. But they were 16-16 before. They were a 500 franchise. Lamar Jackson, they were 17-15 before. They were a 55% winning franchise. Baker Mayfield, he went from a 0, Bucky Brooks, to catching up. You know what? Let me talk to Bucky Marcellus, please. Let me talk to my man,
You have
please.
been. We just don't. We don't believe you. You need more people.
Let's talk track, Bucky. In track, Baker Mayfield, he came from down 50 meters to get to the same point. And Josh Allen came from down 20, and then Lamar Jackson came from down. So I'm going to put it in a language that y'all can understand, because clearly y'all forgot how to understand football over the last 2 days.
Acho, I'm sorry. That's the bad example that you just used. That was a horrible one. I mean, I'm really getting tired of this hood took me under, kind of like, oh, look where he's from and where he started from. Look, if I saw somebody set a world record on the sorriest track team, I don't exaggerate the world record even further and say, you know what? And he did it from a sorry track team. I don't give a damn where you did it. Baker Mayfield had only 32 7-11s in the NFL, and all of them are open. So what? You did it from one of the lowliest franchises. You don't get extra props for that from me. No,
you do.
You don't over here. I'm going to tell you why. Because Bucky brought it up. These champagne showers that Acho's over here popping off on. Not me. Let's talk about quarterbacks who perform like Baker Mayfield. Good quarterbacks as well. 3 passing touchdowns and no interceptions in their playoff debut. And let's talk about how it turned out for those same quarterbacks the rest of their playoff career. I got a name by the name of Dante Culpepper, my dog. Oh, he started off like Baker Mayfield in his first playoff win and debut. How did it go after that? 1-2. Let's go with Chad Pennington. He was good. He was all right. How did it go after that? 1-4. Alex Smith, my dog. I mean, you talk about a redemption story right there, and a beast. We know that. Since that Baker Mayfield playoff debut, how did it turn out for Alex Smith? 1-5. All I'm saying right now, Acho, is smile, celebrate, keep talking about Drake, keep talking about Baker Mayfield. Like this is going to just continue to finish the way it started. But with Kansas City on the schedule next, bye-bye, Baker Mayfield, bye-bye.
Fellas, y'all can find a negative comp for anything, and I can complain when I walk outside and it's 75 and sunny. But the fact of the matter is, Baker Mayfield got the sun out shining, my smile is bright, and y'all two need to learn to put some respect on Baker Mayfield's name. Coming up, Tom Brady got his first playoff win as a Buc. We'll tell you if we're encouraged by Tampa. That's next. Speak for yourself.
Don't say it no more.
Hey, that's funny. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Now, remember when Chase Young said he wanted Tom Brady? Yeah, he might be regretting that one now. The GOAT finished with 2 touchdown passes and nearly 400 yards en route to his first playoff win as a Buccaneer. Washington cut it to 5 in the fourth quarter, but Tampa held on for their first playoff win since their 2002 Super Bowl run. Bucky somehow has pulled himself back together, and he is back with us after taking that beat down. But, Marcellus, are you encouraged by Brady's Bucs in their win?
Encouraged is too strong. Look, I'm still confident in the Bucs, but encouraged, no. I'll tell you why. I feel good, but nothing I learned and saw this weekend made me feel better about this Bucs team. There are some issues there with this team, even though they had a winning outcome, not a winning necessarily important performance. Defense, come on, defense. Gave up over 300 passing yards to Taylor Heineke. Now, remind you, Heineke had a joystick and a controller stuck in his body. That sucker there was elusive. I mean, it was a tough task to go out there and play with the almost off-script Heineke in that role. But you can't give up over 100 receiving yards to Cam Sims when next week, guess what we got? Drew Brees and Michael Thomas in the building. So it was a not discouraging performance, but it was an interesting performance. You know you have a lot to clean up. We saw Chris Godwin, 5 drops in the game. Oh, and a couple of times he got the death stare from Tom Brady as well. You just look at him going against a team that has beat him twice this year already, and the combined scores were 72-26. If you don't clean it up and clean it up fast, it could get ugly in New Orleans. But I'm still confident in these Bucs, but not necessarily encouraged.
Yeah, I'm not really confident nor encouraged, but I've said all season long, I don't think the Bucs are about to make any real noise. What do we know about the Buccaneers? They were 10-0 against teams that weren't playoff teams, and they were 1-5 versus playoff teams. Now you're like, okay, Acho, well, they just beat Washington, a playoff team. Sure, at face value, but if you do your homework, you realize Washington was 2-8 without Alex Smith. They were 5-1 with Alex Smith. Alex Smith's Washington team is a playoff team. Taylor Heineke's is not. So what did Tampa do? They went out there and did what they do all season. Beat non-playoff teams. Let's put this in perspective. Because we was all geeked when we saw Taylor Heineke out there doing his thing. But let's remember, Taylor Heineke was doing his thing for Taylor Heineke. He had the 3rd lowest passer rating of the 12 quarterbacks that played in playoff games this week. He had the 5th lowest completion percentage of the 12 quarterbacks that played in playoff games this week. Yet Tampa still only won by 1 possession. They had to get a stop late in the game to really seal that victory. So I'm not confident, nor am I truly encouraged in the Buccaneers beating a Washington team without Alex Smith by 8 points.
Oh, no, I run counter. I'm actually very encouraged by what I saw from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because right now this offense looks like it has the making of being an unstoppable unit. And I know they play New Orleans, and the New Orleans Saints struggled mightily against a Bears team that couldn't really do anything on offense. But when I look at the Bucs and the way they're constructed, on the perimeter, they have everything that you want. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They have a gold jacket guy, and Antonio Brown. We have Rob Gronkowski, who didn't even have a reception in this game because Cameron Brate was catching all of them down the seam. And then they quietly got Leonard Fournette, and everybody wondered, why do they need Leonard Fournette? They have Ronald Jones. Leonard Fournette gave them almost 100 yards on the ground, gave them a little balance, enabled them to use a little more play action. And so when I think about this offense and how they can put pressure on opponents, and then this defense that likes to dial it up, I feel really good about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think we're going to see them advance, and they're going to be they're going to be the team in the NFC Championship game. I just don't know who they're going to be facing.
Advance. I don't know where you think they advance. I don't know where you think they advance into. Bruh, you remember what happened when last time they saw the Saints?
They're going to beat the Saints.
Oh, God. Bucky, how did you have – Bucky's like the Steelers, America.
Oh, here we go.
You had 17 weeks of good takes. 17 straight weeks of good takes. But then when the playoffs came around, something just happened, Marcellus. The pressure just got to Bucky Brooks, and he forgot how to give a quality take. Like, Bucky, first you was all gung-ho about these Steelers. Now you're telling me that the Bucs are about to beat the Saints, even though the Saints done beat the Buccaneers 38-3 and 34-23. Like, come on. But somebody paying you? Tell them pay you more.
Does those games matter? Did you start out with a deficit when we started the game?
Ooh.
No. Did you watch the game? I know you like to take naps in the middle of the day. Did you watch the game? I'm just saying.
You were calling the game, Bucky. I watched the game on 3 networks. Okay, I watched that joint on Nickelodeon, and I watched your version.
Yeah, you must have watched the feed with the slime and all that and got confused with all of the other stuff. But the Bears Saints, look, the Saints had a tough time moving the ball consistently. They didn't wow anybody. And when I look at the older quarterbacks that are playing in this game, Tom Brady looks head and shoulders above what Drew Brees looked like. And that's me being a Tom Brady critic saying that. Tom Brady looks fresh and revived, and this offense looks like it's rolling as they're going into the postseason and through that first round. So I feel very optimistic about the Bucs hanging a 40 burger on the Saints as they get rolling.
Yeah, look, I'm with you, Bucky.
Don't do this, Marcellus.
I'm being real.
Die alone.
I know it's early in the week.
Misery loves company.
Hey, the Bucs will beat the Saints for several reasons. Bucky laid it out. Look, I'm confident in that. I'm not encouraged because encouraged means I'm already confident I get even more. I didn't get more from these Bucs. Maybe because I was already this high on the Bucs, higher than you, Acho, right there with you, Bucky. Look. The Bucs have won 5 straight games, and now you look at them, and really? Okay, let's keep going. Offense gained over 500 yards. You gonna woo that? Okay, Tom Brady, 381 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You're not wooing anymore. Leonard Fournette, 132 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. That's nice. Mike Evans with the bad knee, 6 catches, 119 yards. Oh, where the woos go? Bucs will get Devin White back off the COVID list. Oh, that's going to help. But let me tell you why I really am confident in this situation. Because Bucky asked, did those games matter? And looking off of the performances and outcomes of this weekend, maybe in the regular season those games don't matter. Let's ask the Seahawks, who won their division, but then had to go back and play the Rams. How did that turn out for that division winner in that situation? Oh, no. Let's go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who won their division, but then had to play those Browns. How did that turn out for that division-winning Pittsburgh Steelers team? Oh, there seems to be a narrative in the universe right now that is saying, hey, you want to beat up on us when it doesn't count? Watch what happens to little brother when he gets to fight back. So in this situation, Tampa Bay lost twice to New Orleans, big time, blowouts. 34 points in both games, at least given up by the defense. But according to the narrative of these playoffs, you know what's going to happen? Those Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to punch back on big brother division-winning New Orleans Saints. And guess what's going to happen? They are going to advance, Acho.
I'm so glad I paid attention in school, particularly math class, because I was bad in high school, but then when I got to college, boy, I don't know, something happened. Switch flipped.
Plagiarism.
Because when I listen to Marcellus and Bucky, if I don't pay attention to the details, if I wasn't so proficient at quickly calculating, I would just let some things go over my head. The Bucs have won 5 games in a row. Is that Marcellus?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The combined record of those teams is 27-53. So, yes, the Bucs have won 5 straight games against the 4-12 Falcons. The 4-12 Falcons. The 5-11 Detroit Lions, who were on a third-string head coach and a third-string quarterback, just by the way, but who's counting? The Minnesota Vikings, 7-9, and the Washington football team without their starting quarterback. I'm not going to let you mindlessly throw statistics to our lovely viewers, and they just going to digest them because, well, Marcellus went to Columbia, so he got it.
They will, too.
Got to be the smartest. No.
That works all the time.
I'm calling out all the lies. All of the lies, all of the lies. Coming up, the Steelers were stunned by the Browns last night.
Right.
We'll tell you who's at fault for the late season collapse. That's next. Speak for yourself.
Do it again. All of the lies, all of the lies. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Steelers had a horrible start against the Browns last night, you think? They had 4 turnovers early on and were down 28 donut after the first quarter. Ben Roethlisberger finished with 4 interceptions, capping off an end-of-the-year collapse. Pittsburgh lost 5 of their last 6 games after starting off a perfect 11-0. Bucky is in the building, but Acho, who's at fault for the Steelers' collapse?
Man, I'm going to say something that people aren't going to like, but again, psychologically, physiologically, it's going to be true. I'm going to say Juju is at fault for the Steelers' collapse. And the reason I'm going to say that is because, again, unless you think it's coincidence, then there might be something to this. Juju, tick-tock, 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 all of a sudden stops tick-tock dancing. Oh, the Steelers go out there and beat the Colts. Ben Roethlisberger, he balls. But like we said last week, Juju stopped tick-tock and then he reverted to slick talk. He comes out there and says, the Browns is the Browns. Again, I've tried to tell y'all, Juju poked the bear. He didn't poke the bear, he poked the Browns, and he woke them up. Juju, why would you give grown men who are paid to go out there and inflict pain on you and your teammates any increased motivation? Now, some people might say, Acho, you're an idiot. What Juju said had nothing to do with Ben Roethlisberger's turnovers. Well, again, I got my master's degree in psychology, and I paid attention in physiologically, so let's talk about it, people. Anger and rage and how they affect the body. Anger and rage, they increase adrenaline. Studies show that adrenaline increase power outputs and increase strength outputs. Adrenaline actually allows you to focus better at times. So wait a second. Juju, by allowing the Browns players to be even more upset, you actually increase their strength and power outputs. Now, for those of y'all that don't play ball, in the locker room before we get out onto the field, as much as we may like to, we don't listen to R&B music. We don't. We usually listen to like hardcore rap music, like talking about killing people. Why? Because we're trying to increase our adrenaline outputs. I don't even like rap. I like R&B. But before a football game, your boy gonna be busting this rap music. Why? Because it increases that aspect of the body. So I'm going with Juju because Juju gave the Browns more motivation as if they needed any.
Man. You don't like rap?
I'm a John Legend guy, bro. I told you that.
Oh, that's right.
I'm a lover boy, be listening to
I forgot
music.
You soft without a T.
Watch your mouth.
No. Oh, man, who's at fault for the Steelers' collapse? This is all y'all gonna get this one. Let's start at the top. First of all, I predicted this. And look, Acho, I took my lashes. I took my B up. You got me. Yep, I thought the Browns were gonna lose to the Steelers because I had forgot and really lost my way. I saw this coming when I said this on our show, Acho. It takes forever to get into shape, to get into precision, to get your timing right. It also takes no time to get out of it. So 1 week off with that rust that could come in, you get into the first quarter, you're like, oh, okay. What's the score at that moment? I think Tomlin's making a mistake. Ooh. Somebody told you. I'm going to start at the top. Mike Tomlin. I tried to warn you, big dog. It takes forever for us to get this thing right as a team, as an individual, as a player. And it takes no time for us to get out of sync. And that's what happened. You want to know why? Because the first snap from center went in the end zone. So I have to put the blame on Mike Tomlin not understanding the rest versus rust conversation as it applies to his team. Then I got to go to Big Ben. Veteran you are. Division-winning team you were. Oh, Big Ben, you got to know better in these moments, man. Just go out there because as soon as coach says, Big Ben, you're off because I'm trying to protect the body with rest, you're also going to have an impact and an effect on the mind with rust. And we saw it the first half. Ben had, what, 3 turnovers in the first half, 4 in the entire game? It's just like, what is going on here? They forgot their way, just like I forgot my way about this Steelers team. 11-0. Then after they beat the Baltimore Ravens, I finally said, look, I know that the record says they're perfect. They're not a perfect team, but I got to believe in them. Then they went on a 3-game losing streak, but then they had a second half against the Colts, and I said, okay, everything is fine.
But then you go out there and you rest, and that rest turned to rust. And like you said, Acho, my last point is Juju. What the hell are you doing? To go out there and then to give bulletin board material that they actually posted up and said, oh, we're going to go get this dude. We're going to go get this team. In a moment when their backs were against the wall, this team was counted out by everybody, and probably quietly within their own locker room, a little doubt had crept in. But once you gave them that motivation that turned that doubt into rage and turned it into fuel that they could actually use on the football field, oh, they opened up a can of whip ass on y'all, and you guys helped them. So there's a few culprits. Tomlin, I had to say it because you're one of my favorite coaches, but it starts with you as well.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I am a huge Mike Tomlin fan. I think he doesn't get enough credit for the success that they had in Pittsburgh. But there's an old saying where you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. And when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and all of the stuff that they had done to lose 5 out of the last 6, we saw the signs of this team falling apart. We saw even when they were winning the first 11, this team couldn't run the ball. A team that prides themselves in being tough and physical couldn't hand the ball to the running back on short yardage situation, and they couldn't get it done. But then it goes even beyond that. The whole thing with Juju dancing on the logos and those things. And I know, look, the first time that he does against Buffalo and it creates a little dust up, at that point you have to address it. The fact that it continued to go on to the point that he calls the Browns is the Browns, adding more fuel to the fire, that is something that has to be done. And then even in watching this game, Chase Claypool scores a touchdown. The game is out of reach. Yes. There's no way they're coming back. He spikes the ball, and I'm sitting here like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on in Pittsburgh where the players don't have the awareness to know, you know what, this probably isn't a situation where I need to run my mouth and do anything. And so it goes back to the top. I love Mike Tomlin. I love the success that they've had in Pittsburgh during his entire tenure. But there's something amiss with this program that they're a little too loosey-goosey, and sometimes the lack of attention to detail and discipline hurts them, and I think it hurt them in this playoff game.
I'm with that, Bucky. I'm with that, Marcellus. We really all saying the same thing. It's just where we want to choose to point our anger. My last thing is very simple. At first I said, Juju, you writing checks that you can't cash, but I was wrong. See, Juju was writing checks that he needed everybody on his Steelers roster to cash. And the fact of the matter is, they all, again, said insufficient funds. Coming up, the Ravens literally danced all over the Titans. Oh, my God. We'll tell you if their logo celebration was disrespectful. That's next. Speak for thy... Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Ravens shut down the Titans with an interception by Marcus Peters late in the game. Then after the pick, Peters and several Ravens went to the Titans logo. You know what they did. They started celebrating on it. Well, 2 months ago, both teams, including head coach John Harbaugh, got in a confrontation when the Titans huddled up on the Ravens logo before the game. After Sunday's win, Lamar Jackson told his team to leave the field without shaking hands. Take a listen to his explanation.
I feel, it was just disrespect. We didn't see what went on before the game, the last time we played those guys, and they were standing on our logo, and we seen like them getting into it with our coach. So that was just disrespectful because we treat all our opponents with respect, and it wasn't no reason for us to shake hands and stuff like that.
So, Big Bro Sal, was the Ravens celebrating on the Titans logo disrespectful to you?
No, it wasn't disrespectful. Look, I admit, like as a collective audience, we all kind of like, oh, this is something here, and I felt that little sting at first. But then I calmed down and realized why I didn't have an issue with this, because it was after they did something. So this type of behavior, Juju Smith, all this stuff that goes on, I got a problem with that when it comes as motivation. It doesn't work for me the same. But when it comes in celebration after the fact, I'm fine with it. I got a Wileyism for this one. Basically, once you did it, do it. Like, do what the hell you want to do. My job was to stop you from actually having that moment once you did it. Do it. Thank you very much. Where were you? Here's the thing. You banged on my coach. Like, banged on my coach. John Harbaugh was at midfield with Mike Vrabel last meeting they had. And did you see the Titans players behind them? Like, throwing up, like they were filming Colors 2.0. Like, what the hell was this? And then we go out there, y'all not shaking hands. Y'all want to disrespect our logo? Guess what? Look, we're going to fight fire with fire. So I didn't have any issue with this. It wasn't disrespectful.
So I'm agree with half of what you said.
Okay.
It was disrespectful, but it was calculated disrespect. Like, it was meant to be disrespectful. Okay. Every now and then you walking down the street, you bump into somebody, hey, that's my bad, that's my bad. It was an accident. But you look at somebody, then you bump into him, it's like, nah, I meant to do that.
What'd it do?
And what? And what you about to do about it? Bruh, I don't have an issue with it because what goes around gonna come back around. What's so interesting to me with the Ravens is like, they felt this in their heart. Can we look at it, please? Because I want y'all to zoom in on about two people. Take your eyes to about two cats who you got to see. The first is number 44, Humphrey, on the left side, right? Now, he was ready. My dog sitting there. Watch Deshaun Elliott. He's stepping on that thing trying to pull up the turf. Like, he's trying to pull up the grass Superman, right there. So the Ravens knew exactly what they were doing, what they were getting into.
Did they?
What I love most about it, though, if I'm going to be real, it was calculated. Wait until you won the game. Like, you got that pick. You basically sealed it. A minute 50 left. The Titans had 3 timeouts, but they was going to have to march down the field. So you was already doing this when you knew you could pull off. The problem is Juju. When what Juju did, he did it and gave the Browns ample opportunity to collect themselves, go out there, and with extra motivation. Nah, Marcus Peters, this was like drive-by disrespect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm about to disrespect you, and you ain't going to have no time to fire back.
Right, and that's why I had a problem with Juju. It was for motivation, and it turned into motivation for the other team. Not in celebration like this situation. They out there Superman in that. I was like, whoa, these boys are out there getting it. But I don't think it was so calculated.
They were Supermaning what exactly?
Superman, I can't. Superman in that thing or whatever they were doing. Woo! Marlon Humphrey said it best. He was like, look, in sports, you celebrate with the person who made the play. It just so happened that on this situation, the person that made the play was at the logo. So we all met at the logo. I could buy that. But Calais Campbell, the veteran, said it also, that respect is earned. So when you disrespect me, you earned this disrespect in return. So I didn't have a problem with it. It just looked like a situation where maybe it could have been premature if things didn't work out, but they left themselves no room for the other team to come back. Coming up, the Seahawks season, it's over. We'll tell you if Russell Wilson is to blame for the loss. That's next. Speak for yourself. What did he say? Superman what? Welcome back. Seahawks offense could not get anything going against the Rams defense during Saturday's loss. Russell Wilson threw 2 touchdown passes, but he had an interception and was sacked 5 times. Russ finished with only 11 completions, which is his fewest all season. So, Acho, you blame Russell Wilson for the loss?
I ain't got no other choice. You got to blame Russell Wilson for the loss.
Good,
I mean, if you don't blame Russell Wilson, then you're just kind of being like, well, he's a nice guy. I don't want to blame Russ. No, I mean, again, to whom much is given, much is required. Russell Wilson, you're what, the 3rd highest paid quarterback in the entirety of the NFL? You got to show up. Russ, we was talking about you winning MVP the first half of the season, winning Super Bowls the first half of the season. Russ, there's a saying, and you know it best, if I'm talking to you or if I'm talking to the fans, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Or big-time moments, big-time, whatever you want to call it. This was the biggest game of the season for the Seahawks. Come to playoffs, every game was going to be the biggest game of the season. And Russell Wilson wasn't the best player on the field. Ever. And that's the problem. You're making too much money to not be the best player on the field. You're too much of a leader to not be the best player on the field. It's not an indictment on Russell Wilson's career, but it's absolutely an indictment on that performance. We said that Russell Wilson chose a bad day to have a bad day. Let's look at it so y'all know I ain't just talking out my behind. During the regular season, Russ had 263 yards a game. He had 174. During the regular season, 69% completion percentage. Russ, on that game, he had a 40% completion percentage. Career worst in the postseason. Regular season, his passer rating hovers around 105, and it was 72. Mind you, Russell Wilson is top 5 in passer rating all time. He chose a bad day to have a bad day. So who do I blame for the Seahawks loss? Sure, you could talk about Pete Carroll. You could talk about the lack of creativity on the offense. You could blame the Seahawks safeties for getting beat there late. You could do what you want, but to me, the buck stops with the leader, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he certainly has to be blamed for this loss. Just the entire season, the roller coaster ride of letting Russ cook and how fast it started. And, boy, how fast it flamed out in terms of losing his balance and losing his way. Yes, it's on you, Russell Wilson. When your check has more commas than everyone else's, guess what? You're going to be the one that gets more of the drama when this thing doesn't go right. Russell Wilson, what the hell happens to you when you play the Rams or when you see Jalen Ramsey? If you even say Jalen Ramsey's name 3 times around Russell Wilson, I guarantee you he's going to start shaking. Because goodness, what is going on? 1-2 record this year, 55 completion percentage. It's interesting because you see even with Darius Williams and his interception, And Darius Williams said, yeah, I saw that coming. I knew what they were going to do. I mean, preparation is the separation. That's actually a mantra that Russell Wilson loves to always speak of. But in this situation, he saw this coming. And let me just give it to you in perspective of how bad this was by Russell Wilson. There were 784 screens to a wide receiver this year. You know how many interceptions were thrown on those 784 pass attempts?
Big goose egg prior to that.
0. And then Russell Wilson decides, in the playoffs, you know what, let me be the first and throw an interception in that moment. This was a pitiful performance. This was a Russell Wilson that you can't justify that money going forward because now you have another one-and-done playoff situation. What is the formula? What is their way? What's going to be their pace, their tempo? What's going to be their balancing act? A lot of question marks in Seattle this offseason.
Big bro, it's real simple. Regardless of what happened, had the Seahawks won, we're leading the show with Russell Wilson Seahawks. Not Chris Carson Seahawks. Yeah. Not Bobby Wagner, not KJ Wright, not even Jamal Adams or Quandre Diggs or Pro Bowl safeties. Russell Wilson, you would have got all the credit if and had y'all won. So if y'all didn't, it now can't be a matter of obscurity of who deserves the blame, especially if you go 11 for 27. It comes down to this, Sel. In the playoffs, your best players got to be the best. Yeah. If you want to win playoff games, your best players, they have to be the best. You saw Michael Thomas had a great game for the Saints. Tom Brady had a great game for the Bucs. Drew Brees had a fairly good game. You saw so many players who were supposed to be the best play their best. Russell Wilson, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey, they can't outplay you. You can't let the Rams' best be better than you.
Look, this is going to be a tough offseason for Russell Wilson because there were so many great moments and so many moments that are forgettable like yesterday's game. So here's the thing about Russell Wilson. Takes me back to Dan Marino, all-time great. Everyone remembers Dan Marino for his greatness on the field and also not winning a championship. But do you also remember that he had to retire after a 62-7 loss? You imagine that you lose 62-7 in the playoffs and you're Dan Marino, you're like, well, that's my last game. That's what I have to leave for everyone to leave with. Same thing with Russell Wilson. You get to come back next year, but damn, that's a way to go out, Russell Wilson. You got to fix this situation, cooking or not. Coming up, Uncle Jimmy joins us, and he's getting the week started with his own thoughts on Doug Pederson's firing in Philly. Acho, that's next. Speak for yourself. Before we go, I love Acho. Uncle Jimmy joins us. Gave our opinion on Doug Pederson's firing by the Eagles, but Uncle Jimmy has some words for Acho. Take it away, Uncle. Get him.
The hell wrong with you, man? I know I probably shouldn't say this, but you got some medication you supposed to be taking, don't you?
Yeah.
Did I hear you just put Bakerfield in the same breath as Lamar Jackson?
That happened, huh? They both let him
man. Look, you do understand that just because your suit is tight don't mean that you're right.
This one loose, huh? This one loose.
Okay, look here, man. Everything that's good to you ain't always good for you.
That's facts.
You talking about let Doug Pederson cook. That's what they did. They let him cook. He cooked Thanksgiving dinner in Philly. Guess what? The turkey was raw. Nobody told him. They ate the food. Guess what happened?
What happened?
The locker room got food poisoning. That's why they cut his ass loose today. Doug Pederson can't cook. Doug Pederson burned up Roman noodles in a microwave. Doug Pederson can't make hot dog water. Doug Pederson puts raisins in potato salad. And that's grounds to get fired up on. And I don't give a damn what you say.
Oh, yeah. My mama-in-law puts pickles on tacos. Ugh.
No,
that's it for us. Yeah. Oh, that's nasty. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out. Oh.